I think I'm live. 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 I look to the left. I look to the right. I think I'm live. Oh, I am live. Hey, here we go. I'd like to welcome everybody to the multidimensional world of Dr. G. That's right, it says starting in 1 minute. Why start in 1 minute? We can start right now. Again, welcome everybody to the multidimensional world of Dr. G. Today is the last day of the month of January. So that I think they call that a semi-rotation around the world. I think I get it kind of mixed up, but I'm gonna go with that. So hopefully everybody here had a good week. Before I decided that I was gonna go live this week, I figure it's Friday, so there's like three kinds of people out there, in my opinion, on a Friday night. It is Friday, again, 31st. And when I think of those three types of people, you're going to be one, that person that is out and about doing all kinds of crazy, crazy things. Two, that person that is at home doing absolutely nothing, whether it's playing on their phone, whether it's getting on the computer, getting on the iPad, whatever the case may be, social media, YouTube Live. Hey, so YouTube Live. And the third type of person, which we're obviously not catering to, maybe we can cater to at a different time, is those that are probably asleep. That is okay too. So I would probably say I fall under that second tier. People that are just doing nothing and kind of looking for something to semi entertain themselves. Okay, because you're probably laying in bed or watching TV or having a drink. It can be that of the alcoholic persuasion or the non alcoholic persuasion, whatever the case may be. You could be probably doing that as well. Whatever, you're hanging out. So if you're kind of watching this live, that's, hopefully I'm entertaining you in that element. But that's kind of why I wanted to wait till a little bit later. I think it's about 11. That gives everybody time to wind down the day, relax for a little bit, and hear my daily rants or whatnot. So, again, for those of you who are listening to this, we do run a live show. I always look for that audience engagement, but if it's not there, that's okay too. Some people just want to sit back and listen. Some people actually want to just relax and listen and not engage, and that's okay too. You just kind of want to hear my ramblings. Some of you don't want to listen to me at all, and that's okay too. Life's all about choices, and if your choice is not to hear me, well, I'll just put my head down and cry in private. I'll wait till I'm off the air. So I do like to run live, so we can kind of go with it and spitball whatever it is that we wanted to talk about this week. Again, my show is all about me basically sum up the whole week, and that's all I'm going to basically do. However, I do have a special treat for you, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But before we do my recap of the week, I do like to take my weekends off. If I do hop up on a weekend, that's good. But I try to do 5 days a week, maybe a couple shorts on the weekends. But that's it. Papa needs his time off too. But we'll see. So I do want to talk about kind of the week a little bit. I would say the weekly theme is kind of how I want to frame it. The weekly theme this week would probably revolve around cooking. My wife's been out of town for the last couple of days, so I've been doing a lot of cooking. And normally, I hate to stereotype, but I am a Latino and I Mexican, identify as Mexican American, so I make a lot of Mexican American Tejano dishes. But that's just a stereotype, and it is real. However, that's not what I did cooking this weekend. I made some Filipino spaghetti. I made the fake Italian beef sandwiches. I like to call it sandwiches. And today, I really didn't do no. What did I make for dinner? I think I told everybody to eat leftovers, so it is Friday. They're on their own. I've been banished to my room. I have my kids right now. My oldest, he asked me, "Hey man, can I go out or can I just stay here and have some friends over?" I said, "Go ahead and have some friends over." So that's kind of what they're doing right now. I told them if I don't hear any noise, I'll pop my head every once in a while just make sure everybody's breathing. But that's pretty much the extent of it. And the reality is, I just want to go get something to drink from the kitchen or whatnot. So I've been banished to my what do they call this? My wannabe studio here. This is kind of like my dream studio for those that don't know. Total 70s, total 70s. All right. Ooh, I just got an alert. It says open your studio right now to make sure everything is running. If you can hear me, this is good. Ooh. Am I going live? It looks like I am. I see my face off to the side. Yep, we're live. Okay, just double checking. Well, so I want to kind of get into kind of what it is my special gift today because I wanted to show everybody what my top five is of all time. So when I say top five, everybody's a lot of different top fives. Well, top five what, Dr. G? Which one is it going to be? Well, I would probably say my top five TV shows of all time. So it's a pretty exciting time. Now, here's the thing, and I do kind of want to preference this a little bit. When I talk about my top five TV shows of all time, you know, one of the things I always see on the internet is everybody talks about, you know, what their top five are. And they're all shows that, yeah, some of them are cool, you know, but some of them I don't relate to. I'll give you an example. Everybody talks about the show Friends. Me personally, I don't really care for the show Friends. I've seen it. I grew up in that time. Well, and I also want to kind of give everybody a quick disclaimer. I'm like in that 50s, so I am a product of the 80s and the 90s. So let me start there. But I did, you know, watch a lot of those shows. Seinfeld. These are shows from the 90s. Seinfeld. Friends. Those are the shows that people think that were really good. And, you know, I was just like, meh. You know, I had to be honest. And I did like some of the shows growing up. I grew up watching like the Brady Bunch. I grew up watching, you know, Archie Bunker, and a lot of that stuff was in reruns because I'm a product of the mid '70s, you know, and I grew up watching a lot of shows in the like the early '80s and stuff like that. I loved the A Team, dun 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 dun. You know, those are the kind of shows that I loved watching growing up. But I kind of sat down and I really thought about, you know, kind of me and what I like to do and all of this and that. And I really, really love talking about TV shows, especially from back then. And there's a great YouTube channel. I think they call it My Gen X. And shout out to that. I've got to plug their channel because I watch it all the time. They kind of rate all the great shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even some of those shows that are forgotten. But my list is a little bit different from that one. So I am going to talk a little bit about my list. So I'm pretty excited to kind of share that with you. So, without further ado, these are my top five TV shows and why of all time. And I'll explain to you, starting off, much better if we do it this way, my top five TV shows of all time. That's right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off with number five. Who does not remember this great sitcom show? And whoo, let me tell you what. And if anything, what I remember more than anything else out there is, well, we're moving on now, we're moving on up to the east side. Like, if you don't know the song, you probably didn't watch the show. And I know that song like the back of my head. I learned that a couple things, takeaways. Beans don't fry in the kitchen. And the other part, took a lot of wood out of hood up here. I can't remember what it goes. I'm embarrassed. Now we up in the big leagues. Take my turn at bat. What is it? It's you and me, baby. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Well, we're moving on up. Yes. All right. That was my song. And unfortunately, I can't remember half of the words to the song. But I will tell you this. That show was so cool to me because it showed me, like, even at a young age, that people that were rich can also be cool. Now, believe it or not, that's kind of insightful in a weird way because I used to look at all the shows where on TV, when the people were rich, they always made fun of them. They always talked bad about them. And, you know, they had this really bad look about rich people. And, oh, hey, we got somebody on there. Hey, hello, Audra, how you doing? I heard the song first in my head before I remember the title. Yeah, you know, I'm sorry. I should have put up there the Jeffersons, but for those that don't know, it's the Jeffersons. It's a show that ran in I can't remember if it was the late 70s, early 80s. It was a great show if you don't know it with George Jefferson and Wheezy. Wheezy, you know, a great show. But that show alone, that was kind of where they told me that, you know, you can be rich and be cool at the same time and also keep it real. I think that's another component that a lot of people don't really think about. We have this stereotypical mindset where you think of rich people and you automatically think of like they're pompous or they're like, well, hello there. George Jefferson was not that guy. Woo, he turned around and walked around there and handled his business. And that's what I loved about George Jefferson. And he hung out in that cast of characters. When you talk about diversity, it was all over the place. So that show hits my top five, hits sitting at number five, The Jeffersons. All right, now we're coming in at number four. Hey, who remembers that show? Three's Company. Now, you know that show. And all right, now that was the essence of the 70s. For people that like know the music, if you remember the Three's Company show, now that beginning, now I'm gonna tell you one thing about the beginning of that show. It kind of had that part of my language. It had that porno beat from the 70s that everybody remembers. It had that beat, okay? Because that 70s sound was so distinctive. I loved it, and it came out hard. It started. But that is like the essence of 70s sound. So when Three's Company, and if you think about the premise back then, okay, let's kind of chew on this one for a little bit. The premise was there was two women that lived with a man, and the man had to act as if he was gay so he can live in that building. Talk about how much we've progressed, like in all these years. If you think about it, like that premise, obviously that show wouldn't fly today. They had a lot of bad stereotypical jokes. I get it, but you got to kind of take it for what it is for that time. You know, back then, that is kind of how the world was viewed. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't even have an opinion on it, but it was what it was. But if you take it for what it was, you can find the humor. And if you have a sense of humor, the show hits. I'm gonna tell you right now, it was all about Jack Tripper. Now, to me, how can I say this? Celebrating one of my favorite shows, I'm wearing one of my favorite T-shirts today. Let's see if anybody can see this. If you know who this is, you know what's up. So if anybody knows, I'm gonna if anybody can kind of figure that out, I'll give y'all a minute. You can drop in the chat. I'll tell you in a little bit. But he was the ultimate wingman. Now, when you talk about somebody that's always, talking about, Jackie, hey, all right, we're going to hit up the Regal Beagle tonight. I got some girls lined up. That's how he used to talk. He was that guy, and he was a funny character. I'm going to tell you who it is for them. Drum roll. With the greatest name. You know you're kind of slimy if you have two first names. Larry Dallas, everybody's favorite used car salesman. Notice it had to be the word used car salesman. So they had him stereotypically broken down to the T. The ultimate slime ball, but entertainment is heck. So I'm definitely wearing my Larry Dallas shirt. Shout out to Larry, all right? Let us not forget some of those characters that everybody knew about that if you really watched the show. They had three people. They had Chrissy. Then they went through the middle one, who was so unmemorable. I hate to say it. And then last one was, she was Nurse Alden. There you go. Nurse Alden. She was, I haven't watched a lot of these shows in so long. I need to kind of catch up a little bit, but there was the three. But Chrissy, to me, was number one. And then the big debate was, are you with Team The Ropers or Mr. Furley? I'm going to tell you right now, both of them were freaking hilarious, okay? So I couldn't tell you. Mr. Furley, for his own reasons, with like all of the faces, well, hello there. And then the Ropers, which my favorite, which to me taught me about breaking the fourth wall, where you turn around, he would make a joke, and then like he'd turn around, he'd look off to the side, and he'd be this. Just looking onto the TV screen. And for those that watch TV, if you remember Saved by the Bell, that's another show. That show's from the 90s. Morris used to be the one who used to talk into the TV, big. And if you remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Ferris Bueller talking into the breaking the fourth wall. So definitely something to think about. Audra knows you love both, Audra. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard. You're either Team Furley, Team Ropers. I'm Team both. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to let that ride out. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to my number 3 greatest show of all time. Again, this is my list. Don't boo me. Moving in at number 3 on my greatest shows of all time, we have now This one is going to be out there for my Spanish speakers. This one was from the 95, 94, 95, 96. This one was called Dos Mujeres, Un Camino. Now, the name, if you don't speak Spanish, that's okay. I'm going to kind of break it down to you as well. So, and I'll tell you why this was, right up there, sitting at number 3. This call was Dos Mujeres, Un Camino. It means two women on one road. Now, I know that sounds like a bad porno movie, but that's not what it is. But if you look at the cover, look at the art on there. I mean, that is priceless. If you can kind of like zoom in a little bit and see who that is freaking Eric Estrada. Yes, the man from Chips. Frank Poncharillo himself had this show. It was called Dos Mujeres Un Camino. So the story about this, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, and Eric Estrada, he's been like icon from the 80s. He was on the show Chips, and he used to walk out with no shirt on because he was him. He was that guy, right? So what he ended up doing was, he's trying to find his comeback, and it wasn't happening. So they offered him a show to be on Spanish. Eric Estrada, believe it or not, didn't speak any Spanish. He understand a little bit, but kind of got by. So what ended up happening was he signed on, and he became one of the biggest international actors of that time. I mean, it's crazy. And the way he would talk, I mean, yo no sé por qué las quiero, las dos con todo el alma. That's how he used to talk in Spanish. He was saying, I don't know, I just love them both. So he was in love with these two beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh my gosh, I can't even stress how beautiful they were. Women. Did we're not live anymore? Okay, it looks like we're back. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, it looks like we're back. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ooh, I thought I lost y'all there for a second. A little worried. So the one thing I will tell you is that this show, it really created that stereotype that all the women on television in Mexico were beautiful. And it was really kind of hard to argue that. It was really, really hard to argue that. And if you look at the people on the show, you obviously look at the cover, you're going to be like, well, that makes all the sense in the world. And that was that stereotype. And then to this day, if you watch any Spanish soap operas, it's like everybody out there is like incredibly good looking. And I'm like, geez, man. And I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, womp, womp. Okay. All right. Well, that hits my number 3. And again, I watched that with my parents. And one of the few and only shows I really watched with my parents in Spanish. So How Do You See means a lot. Number 3. Coming in at number 2. Here's another one. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Let me on. Yes, the Wonder Years. Back from the late 80s, rolling into the 90s. That show right there was like, to me, the essence of puberty. Yes, I am a child of the late 80s. So that show made me really, really remember what it was like to be that 12 and 13, because it was uncomfortable. Now, this kid is basically, let me sum it up and make it simple for those that don't know the show. It's a show about a kid narrated by him, as an adult, now that he's older. And it was him basically growing through puberty. That's kind of what it is, really. Not in a dirty, pervy way, nothing like that. But, I mean, they got some elements of what it was like to be 12, like looking at the dirty magazine they found, reading the book, having these relationships for the first time, meeting girls, the drama that came with it. And that show was based in 1968. But what I love about this show today, and I'll give you some more insight on that as well, but it shows that the same problems that those kids had in 1968 are the same problems that kids had in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And my experience working with kids, teenagers especially, during that those middle school age years, those problems are no different. The clothes are different, the hairs are different, the hairstyles, the clothing, the shoes, but the personalities still the same. And that show, so many people connect with it. I'll tell you a story. I used to be a middle school teacher, and I would turn around and I really wanted those kids episodes of that show. And I would actually, believe it or not, I would actually show them the show. And when they would watch it, they'd walk away like, wow, that show was like pretty good. So anyhow, let's go on. Now that one kind of hit me in the emotional strings, but that is my number 2 show. All right. Oh, let me double check. Audrey says I'm off. Audrey says I'm back. Yes, I think I'm back. Ooh, I hope I didn't lose anybody. Well, let's see. Open a widget. Tell me to open a widget. I don't even know what that means. What is a widget? Well, we're gonna continue to keep on keeping on. We'll do our best, but we're live, so the show keeps on rolling. So hopefully, if you don't get to see it live, you get to see the recorded copy of it, and we'll go with that as well. Coming in, da, 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 my number one show of all time is Saffron and Son. Oh, it says that I have no sound. Oh, well, that's not good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kind of cry off in private a little bit. Hopefully my sound comes back. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and... I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to end my stream and I'm going to come back live in like 1 minute because I think it's important that everybody knows what the number one song is. Whoa, it says I'm back. How about that? I'm not going to end my stream. I'm telling you what. I'm so learning about this and liking this, but all the excitement and the drama that goes with it. But hopefully, we'll kind of see. Sounds still not there. This is horrible. Well, I don't, let's see what I can do. All right, I'm going to go. If you turn around and look up here, it says Saffron and Son. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I'll be back. Hang in there. I'll be back.